don't scare me, but you should fear me. The sun is setting, don't trust your hearing. You made a monster, I'm your imposter. Go ahead and wander, but don't trust the water.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm back with another true crime video, and today we're going to be doing the story of Nosicelo Mtebeni. If you are new to the channel, I try to do these videos often, so please check out the playlist. I've done a couple already and I will be doing more in the near future. Today's video takes us to Gauteng and then subsequently to East London in the Eastern Cape. Nosicelo Mtebeni was born on the 13th of April in 1998 in Vosloorus, Gauteng, to mother Ntombizandile and father Nosicelo Mtebeni. Things unfortunately did not work out between the two parents and they separated soon after she was born. The father would later on state that the mother would then drop Nosicelo off when she was 4 years old in Matatiela, and he would take on the responsibility of raising her then onwards.
Ukuyiveza nje uNosicelo kakhuliswanga umamakhe lo namhlanje sesodivide siyifamily. uNosicelo usale ezandleni zami. She was only 4 years old until today.
When Nosicelo arrived in Matatiela, she attended Naledi Junior Secondary School, where her peers would describe her as someone who was quiet and reserved, but once you got to know her, she was chatty and lovable. In 2016, Nosicelo completed her matric. She passed really well and the father was really excited. He would later on state that no one in his family had ever graduated from university. And because of this reason, he made sure to do everything within his power to make sure that Nosicelo was admitted into a higher institution and she would study towards something that she wanted to be. This would open doors not only for her but also for their family. And in 2017, Nosicelo was admitted into the University of Fort Hare to study towards a Bachelor's of Law degree. Nosicelo got to the University of Fort Hare and was hardworking and determined to succeed. Now, even though she was fully focused on her academics, she also struck a balance and had a good social life. When she got to East London, she made new friends and she would go out to parties and restaurants and clubs. But even though she did this, she would stay focused. Her friends would later say that she had this saying that even if you go out to a party, or if you drink, or if you go to the movies or the beach, just always make sure to get back and go through your work. Go through a page or two every night after you've had these outings to make sure you stay in check. And as a result of this discipline, Nosicelo was said to not be dragging any modules or repeating any class. And she encouraged her friends to attend all their classes when they had to, even if they had a night out. And she also encouraged her friends to make sure that they did as she did and studied at night. And this is the type of friend Nosicelo was. And her friends would later say that it's so unfortunate that they had an amazing friendship from first year when they got there in 2017. 2018, they continued the same way and encouraged one another throughout, and unfortunately things would change in 2019, and the reason for this change is that Nosicelo started seeing someone. In early 2019, Nosicelo met Aluta. Aluta Basile was 2 years older than Nosicelo and had already finished his studies. He had 2 qualifications, in fact. He had a chemical engineering diploma as well as public administration. He was said to be very intelligent, but was just struggling to find work. And as a result of this, he started working as a bouncer in one of the taverns around. And he also sold insurance. In the beginning, Aluta would later state that their relationship was good. They spent all their time together, and this was easy, he says, because they enjoyed similar things. They spent most of their time watching movies. They enjoyed horror movies especially, he says. Things continued going well for the couple, to the extent of which, in December 2020, going into 2021, the couple decided to move in together. This made a lot of sense for them. At this point, Aluta was still working odd jobs. He still was a bouncer and a part-time salesman for insurance. And Nosicelo's accommodation was paid for by NSFAS. So she felt like she would be making a savings there. And because Aluta was not making much from his jobs, then this was a financial break. However, Nosicelo's friends would later mention that this move would make her aloof. She was moving further and further and further away from her friendships The friends would go on to say that they would visit the commune Nosicelo stayed in with her boyfriend to visit other people that stayed in the shared accommodation. And even though Nosicelo would hear their voices in the background, she would not come out of her room. And they knew that it was not because of her own doing. They knew that Aluta was the one who wouldn't allow her to go out. Because even when they called her at times, he would answer and would not understand what they wanted from her. About 7 months after moving in with Aluta, Nosicelo went back home to Matatiele to visit her family. Now, she would enjoy her break and help her father with farming and just enjoy a good old time with her siblings during this break. Now, it is alleged that things were not going well between Nosicelo and Aluta during this time, so she really needed the time out. Now, around the time she was on this break, Nosicelo had also started chatting and communicating with a different guy. And they were sharing pictures and just communicating over WhatsApp. She was actually contemplating leaving Aluta when she got back from that holiday. And before she knew it, the 2 weeks was over and it was time for her to go back to East London. Now, unbeknownst to them, this was the family's last time they would be spending with Aluta. Unfortunately, on her return to East London, the unthinkable would happen. Nosicelo arrived back to East London from her holiday. Aluta would later say that Nosicelo was just not the same when she got back. He noticed that she would not allow him to hold her phone as he would normally do. He says that this got him agitated and curious to some extent, so the result of which, when Nosicelo was sleeping on the 9th of the 16th of August of 2021, he decided no, he wants to go through the phone to see exactly why she wasn't allowing him to go through the phone while she was still awake. He claims he guessed the password and it went through. And as he was going through her phone, he noticed messages between Nosicelo and another man. The messages were affectionate and loving in nature. On top of all of that, he also saw pictures of this man. And he said this got his blood boiling. Aluta just could not wait until she woke up in the morning so that he could confront her. As a result of this, he woke her up in the early hours of the 17th of August of 2021, and they started arguing. They argued about the messages, they argued about the relationship, they argued about everything under the sun. It is alleged that it was around this point when Nosicelo said that she wanted to leave the relationship, and obviously Aluta lost his mind. Aluta would later on mention that he had Nosicelo's phone at this point still, and Nosicelo kept on asking for her phone back, and this irritated him to the point where he took a knife and he stabbed her. Now, fortunately, in the course of him doing this, the knife actually fell down, which was great. But what was bad is the fact that because he was still in a moment of rage, he pushed her, and he pushed her so hard, the judge would later say in court that the force was so formidable that he pushed her to the wall and she must have passed instantly when she hit that wall. Now, what would happen from this moment onwards, as if the whole situation is not bad enough already, is reminiscent of a horror movie. Aluta claims that he was shocked that she was not moving and he started pondering what he was going to do. Now remember, this is the morning of the 17th of August, 2021. Nosicelo had just woken up when this happened. Remember the date. Now, he says that he started pondering what he's going to do. He claims that because he was panicking, he decided to go onto Google quickly and search for ways to dispose of a body. He says that he ran into a video on YouTube, which was about how to dismember a body post-mortem. And this video advised that it's best to cut it into pieces. And once you've cut it into pieces, it's to put it into a suitcase. Now, he decided that this is what he was going to do. Now, while he was sitting in his room, now he was thinking, how am I going to actually dismember this body? He decided to text one of his friends. He says in the text, "Hi friend, I need a saw. Do you have it? I need to cut something." Now, the fact that he uses something, at this point, Nosicelo's body is nothing but a thing to him. It is nothing but a thing that he needs to dispose of because it is inconveniencing his life. And this is just how pathetic this human being is. Fortunately, the friend did not have the saw. So Aluta decided to spend the rest of the day at home, researching more ideas on YouTube and on Google, basically, on how to dispose of the body. Aluta then slept into the 18th. So he spent the whole day from the morning of the 17th when the incident happened all the way to the next day, the 18th. He spent that time with Aluta's deceased body. He then went to the hardware store on the 18th of August 2021 and he bought some supplies. He bought a saw and everything else that he felt that he needed to be able to execute the plan of dismembering her body. He then went to a local drug dealer where he bought tech. He said he took the tech for courage and also just to relax him. When he was done with his errands, Aluta went back home and he proceeded to cut Nosicelo's body. He cut her body into 7 parts. And for reasons known only to himself, he decided to pack only some of the parts into Nosicelo's own purple suitcase. Now, he packed some of the parts into a suitcase and he left the head and 2 hands for himself. Now, till this day, even in court, he has not disclosed why he disposed of all the other body parts and kept Nosicelo's head as well as her 2 hands with him. But for whatever sadistic reason, this is what he did. Now, this was the night of the 18th. It is believed that he disposed of the body parts in the middle of the night, going towards the 19th of August. He put the body parts in the suitcase and he pushed the suitcase to the corner of Fleet and Fitzpatrick Streets in Quigney. And this is about a minute away from where they stayed. And he left that suitcase there and went back home. The head and the hands would later be found by police in his room still in a beach bag on top of the bed. Now, on the morning of the 19th of August, it is believed that passersby saw Nosicelo's suitcase and it was reported to the police. Now, the reason it became suspicious is that it is believed that a passerby must have noticed the suitcase at the corner of the street and became curious because that suitcase was there in the middle of nowhere without anybody. Now, it is believed that person became curious as whose bag is that, or perhaps decided, you know what, I'm taking the suitcase, it's been here for a long time, and the owner's not coming back. But before the person took the suitcase, it is believed that they peeped inside, perhaps to see if there are any valuables. And whoever was the first person to find the suitcase was so shocked that they peeped inside and they left it open, possibly ran away. And the next people who would report the suitcase were the ones who would have found it open already at the corner of Fitzpatrick. And they literally were passing by and they could see. They could see point blank Nosicelo's lifeless body because I've seen the pictures. You can literally see her in the suitcase, dismembered. It is the most painful sight I've ever seen. The pictures are available on Twitter, on Google. I'm obviously not posting them here. I'm not even putting a link because I find them very disrespectful to the family and also just painful. But the sight is painful. I say this to say Aluta was vicious. Aluta did not care, most importantly, for Nosicelo. He did not care for Nosicelo's family, and he did not care for his own family. He did not care, I think, just for the people around him. He did not care who finds that suitcase. He literally just did not care. And thankfully, after the suitcase was reported and Nosicelo's body was found, very soon thereafter, they linked everything up and it was connected to Aluta, and the police then went to his room where they found him and they found Nosicelo's head as well as her hands, and they connected the whole thing together and he was arrested. And naturally, after the news came out, South Africa was at a standstill. We were shocked, all of us. As much as it's sad to say, we're used to gender-based violence crimes, but not to this extent. not to the extent of taking someone's life and then chopping them up. To the extent of which different types of people from all walks of life started gathering at the corner of which her body was found. Churches, political parties, students, all types of people started gathering around. Forte University students started doing night vigils. Elderly people started visiting the corner. Everyone was just concerned. People were scared for their lives, first of all, because they didn't know. At the time, the police had not come out to say who had done it. People were wondering what type of person takes someone's life, chops the body into pieces, and puts it in a suitcase for anyone to discover. It was sadistic. It was scary, and we were all talking about it. The state and the University of Forte contributed and assisted the family with the funeral, which was dignified and attended by many politicians, members of the communities, activists, and also it was clear, the message was very clear in the funeral that gender-based violence must end. Aluta pleaded guilty to all counts, which was 1 for murder and 2 defeating the ends of justice. He was sentenced to 25 years, and Nosicelo's father was not impressed by this. He was saying that this person still has a chance of parole. I'll never see my child. So, although he was not happy about the sentence, he said that he has no choice but to accept it. And quite frankly, I agree with him. A person like this should never see the light of day. Aluta's mother would go on to ask for forgiveness for his child. And as much as I understand this, but honestly, if you bring a child into this world, I think this is proof that no matter what you do, there are no guarantees. Because Aluta came from a good family. He was raised in a home with both mother and father. They were Christians. He was taken to school. He had 2 qualifications. For all sakes, I'd like to believe that the parents did everything that they could, and he still turned out like this. So there are literally no guarantees. Is that you can do all that you can within your power, and your child can still choose evil. And honestly, we can't blame the parents, and I can get why they're apologizing, but really, it's not their fault.
Silile sobabini notatakhe khange sikwazi uba sithi siyamxolela siyathini khange sibe nalisu silithethayo. Kuba sidanile sophule umphefumlo kakhulu unawucela uxolo kakhulu. Ndiyayazi indlela asentlungwini ngayo. Akululanga ufundisa umntana awugqiba umntana ubone sesiza ngebhokisi kubuhlungu kakhulu ngenxa yento eyenziwe ngumntanam. Ingaske indixolele, ndiyarhalela udibana naye ndicela uxolo, kodwa ndiyayiqonda into yoba akasoze bakwazi undamkela ngenxa yentlungu eyenziwe ngumntanam kubo.
And with that said, we have come to the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you all. I read all your comments from the previous video. I really appreciate the welcome backs. I'm definitely back for good. I'm not going anywhere. And if you guys have any video suggestions, if you'd like me to look into any case, please comment those suggestions down below. With that said, cheers guys. Bye.